Links al iniziare.
Hello, Simon Rainier, Links Armissari out of Kamloops, British Columbia, and I have something of a modest proposal, a suggestion, for something to do while you fight, especially when fighting someone new for the first time. Something I've had great success with in my club, my organization, and also with other people outside it who I thought it's generally received some pretty positive feedback, and I thought I'd share it with the wide world of the internet. Simply, that is to, before you fight someone new, especially, calibrate your shots. One person just stands, the other person delivers a strike to them. Head, body, different targets, starting out lighter than you probably think you need to, and after clear verbal confirmation, getting to where both people are comfortable, the level of force both people are comfortable with being hit. This has been great for in terms of fighting, especially fighting people you're not super comfortable with. The first thing I really like about it is that it establishes that you are willing and able to advocate for yourself. Too often we kind of go along with the flow and go along with what other people want, but this gives you the first bit of power to be able to say, no, this is what I want. This is how hard I want to be hit. It's clearly laid out. Both people agree to it. You establish this level of control you want to do because, frankly, we don't always want to be hitting as hard as we can. I mean, we use swords for the most part. Swords are sharp, and when it comes to sharp things, you don't need to cut limbs off, for example, for it to be a fight-ending blow. Often we see in modern machete and knife fights and stuff, really quite small cuts are enough to end the fight. Additionally, we're not always necessarily training during sparring to be actually like cleaving our opponent in two. Sometimes maybe we want to fight to the touch. And I think that's okay. I think we should be able to moderate that. I'm not saying like totally like go light all the time. I'm not saying like just tap, tap, because I don't think that's a great way to fight. But once in a while, I don't feel like getting hit that hard. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Additionally, when you get new people out, or people who maybe aren't comfortable with martial arts or hitting people, being able to hit lighter is a good thing. And establishing how hard you want to be hit is, to create a metaphor around it, it's establishing consent. You're establishing the consent of, this is how hard I consent to be hit, this is how hard I consent to go. And then when things inevitably get a little more out of control, as you fight, you tend to get more excited, you tend to hit harder, go a little more vigorously, and I think that's normal and natural, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But it gives a baseline to be able to say, hey, it's a little harder than we agreed, can we kind of take it down a notch? And I have never had anything but positive reaction to this concept, and I highly encourage everyone to do it. The way we do it with our group is you have to have clear, loud, verbal, that's too light, too hard, or just right. Once you've established that just right, hit it a couple more times just to make sure you have a good feel of it. Hit a couple different targets to make sure you're not hitting an extra padded area and throwing the calibration off that way. And then, they hit you and establish the same. And I have a rule. There's no such thing as too light. You get to choose how hard or how light you get hit. And I think that's perfectly fine. If we look historically, yeah, you'd have like all out, I want to kill the other guy right now kind of matches. But I mean, you also have duels which were to the touch. You have show duels. Mancilino, I think, talks about, I could be wrong with that, one of the Bolognese guys talks about basically fighting for play. And they don't use a lot of protection, so they have to be able to modulate their blows. Perfectly historical, if you're worried about that kind of thing. If you're worried about always, having fight-ending attacks with every swing, that's your game, fine. But control is important, right? Control doesn't mean I can hit you as hard as I want. Control doesn't mean I can hit you as hard as I can. Control means I can hit you as hard as I want. And I can hit light, or I can put a little more oomph into it and hit a little harder. And that shouldn't be outside of the realm of what you are able to comfortably do. So, highly encourage you, when meeting someone for the first time, when fighting someone for the first time, say, hey, can we calibrate our shots? I've never had anyone say no to me personally. Usually people are like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. And I've had some really experienced fighters come to me and say that it actually makes them feel more comfortable. I do some training with the SCA guys locally, and one of them, who's like a top level fighter, he gets the young guns coming for him who are like trying to hit him as hard as they can, and he likes to be able to say, let's figure out how hard we're hitting first. The one story I've had of someone I know trying this and being rejected is someone came back and she asked about calibration, and someone came back and, nope, we calibrate as we fight, which, returning to our metaphor, that's establishing consent after you've started fooling around. And that's too late, right? And also doesn't really work in my experience. If you're the people who say they calibrate as they fight are generally the kind of people who, if you ask them to back off, won't always. And I have nothing to prove when I fight someone. I fight for my own reasons, and whatever they think of me, I genuinely do not care. So if I come to someone and say, hey, can we calibrate first? And they say, no, I say, okay, I don't want to fight you anymore. And to me, that's fine. So, I encourage everyone to give it a shot. Calibrate, strike the person, establish that, see what you think, and remember, hitting to the touch is perfectly historical. Hitting really hard is perfectly historical, and it can all depend on what you feel like doing in that day. Goodbye.